Hey everybody, Coach Sean, the Rip Grandpa, and inside this video, I'm going to share two sides of the coin of intermittent fasting. On one side, I'm going to share why it's not superior and it's not necessary to use to maintain a lean, healthy body weight. And on the other side of the coin, I'm going to share why I personally made a decision for the last 10 years to use it to get and stay lean 365, 24/7. Now, I'm very confident that you're going to get some massive value out of this video. And if that's the case, please do me a favor and like it and share it. And up here on the whiteboard, you're going to see I have a column for what. And this is just going to be a couple different various types of intermittent fasting methods that you can use or consider experimenting with if you haven't done so already. And I recommend Monday through Friday. You can do it 7 days if you want to. I'm going to share how I personally have done it for the last decade to stay lean, why I use it and why you should consider using it, and some warnings about it, and of course some frequently asked questions. So first of all, why? Why would you want to skip breakfast? So intermittent fasting is a mosquito that's been buzzing around the internet now for about a decade. So you're probably pretty familiar with it, but really the number one reason I choose to use intermittent fasting is simplicity and adherence. And at the end of the day, what is the best fat loss plan to follow? One that you could adhere to ongoing. I mean, what is the first three letters of the word diet when you drop the T? D-I-E, right? 94% of people gain all or more of their weight back following a diet. And intermittent fasting really isn't a diet. It's more of a lifestyle strategy or mechanism. So at the end of the day, we can go back in time to 1998 when I placed first runner-up grand champion in the Body for Life contest. I was a single father. I wasn't married yet. I didn't have any grandkids and only had one child. And I was a blue-collar worker. And I ate 6 to 7 small meals every day and took my body fat from almost 20% down to 5%, gained 5 pounds of muscle at the same time, eating sun up to sundown. So if we fast forward to today, now I eat all my macros in an 8-hour feeding window, and I fast for 16 hours, and I do that Monday through Friday to create something called hormonal entrainment that I'll share with you here in a second. So if you bring that person from 1998 next to me today, and it was my twin, we burned and ate the same thing every single day, but my twin ate in a 12 to 14 hour window from sun up to sundown, and I ate in an 8-hour window, the results are going to be exactly the same. So this is why intermittent fasting is really nothing magical or superior about it when it comes to weight loss. You could still get those same results eating 5 or 6 small meals every single day if you wanted to. In fact, I was up to 7 meals back then. I remember getting up in the middle of the night and having a protein shake because bodybuilders in general were always taught you need to fuel the fire. If you're not eating every 2 to 3 hours or putting a log on the fire is going to die and your metabolism is going to slow down. Well, last 2 decades of bearing out science, we all know now this is bullshit. And your metabolism, or BMR, basal metabolic rate, actually increases during the fasted window, especially for extended periods of fasting. So really, at the end of the day, there's nothing magical about fasting, but it does make it simpler, it does make it easier to adhere to, and it does have some longevity benefits. I mean, what is going to be easier to sustain? 3 to 4 meals a day in an 8-hour window, or 5 to 6 meals a day from sun up to sundown? Now, with that being said, there are some hormonal aspects of intermittent fasting that I love, and the first one is going to be controlling the hormone ghrelin. So if you've never fasted before, I would consider just starting out with a 12-12, where you fast for 12 hours and then you feed for 12 hours. And this is very easy because you're sleeping the majority of the fast. So if you have your last meal at, say, 7 p.m., you could have your first meal at 7 a.m., or it could be 6 p.m. or 8 p.m., and you're just going to fast for 12 hours. And when you do this for about a week, if you just wake up, if you're normally getting hungry and you wake up really early, just drink 24 to 30 ounces of water, and you're going to find that hunger goes away. Now, after doing this for about a week, you can start extending this out to 14 hours and pushing it all the way up to 16. And what you're going to find is that your ghrelin pulses are going to trigger later in the day. And you're going to find that you just won't even get hungry during the fasted window. It takes a couple weeks to train your body to release these ghrelin pulses at the right time. And this is what I've coined hormonal entrainment. And it can make dietary adherence much easier for the long haul, because what's the death of every diet? Is hunger and cravings. Now, also knowing that a lot of times, again, this goes back to bodybuilding mentality, that If we get hungry, oh, I'm going catabolic, I'm losing muscle, my metabolism is slowing down. Well, we know that's bullshit. And in fact, you should have a positive association with a hunger pang versus a negative association, because research shows that when you feel that hunger pang, that's ghrelin talking to you, and ghrelin is actually a precursor to growth hormone. Now, I know it might be an acute release, but the reality is you are releasing growth hormone. So sometimes it's just okay to be hungry, and you have to have a positive association with it. And then, of course, after you do this for a week or two, you're going to find that your ghrelin just doesn't pulse till later in the day. So I personally use the 16-8 method here. And you can see here your last meal of the day being 6 p.m. all the way up to 10 p.m. And you just fast for 16 hours. So if your last meal is at 6, your first meal the next day is at 10 a.m. And of course, if you're a late night owl and you eat later in the day, that's fine. You can eat before bed. It doesn't necessarily make you fat. I have videos on that. You just break your fast the next day at 2 p.m. Now, I like the 9 p.m. range. That's when I usually have a protein shake, some protein ice cream, or protein pudding. And then I break my fast the next day, somewhere between 12:30 and 3 p.m., but in that range. And one of the best things that I found that has helped me stay lean for the last decade, and I highly recommend you give it a shot, is just Monday through Friday, just try to eat your first meal and your last meal close to the same time. So for me, I'm always eating my last meal between 8:30 and 9:30 p.m. And then I'm always breaking my fast between like 12:30 and usually 2 p.m. Sometimes I'll push it out to 3 on Mondays, and I'll push out a longer fast because I carb load every weekend to reset my hormones and have a social life. And when I do that, my glycogen levels in my muscle and liver tissue are full. So I know that I have some carb depleting to do. So on Mondays, I'm typically not hungry because I've cheated on the weekend and I've carb loaded. So I've had a surplus of calories. And it just makes it easier for me to fast longer on Mondays. But in general, I use a 16-hour fast Monday through Friday. I take the weekends off to be social. Now, hormonally, this has several benefits, because if you eat 5 to 6 small meals every single day, yes, it can and does work. But the reality is you are spiking insulin, little mini insulin spikes all day long. I don't care if it's healthy food choices or not. And in the presence of elevated insulin, it can inhibit lipolysis or fat burning. Doesn't mean you can't get great results with elevated insulin levels. But the reality is you are more likely to be in a fat storing environment with many insulin spikes throughout the day, whereas when you have one long fasted 16-hour window, what ends up happening is insulin is stable for extended periods of time. And when insulin is low and you're in this fasted state, it elevates your sympathetic nervous system. So not only are you keeping your body in more of a potential fat burning environment, when your sympathetic nervous system is elevated, it coaxes the pituitary to release more growth hormone. Again, it might be acute releases, but it can't hurt. And then, of course, adrenaline rises. Your adrenal glands release epinephrine, norepinephrine, and catecholamines. Now, if we look at scientific research, these are the hormones responsible for releasing fatty acids from fat cells into the bloodstream, where they can be delivered to working tissue and burned off. Now, with all that being said, and all these great benefits that I just discussed, at the end of the day, if you're not in a calorie deficit or getting adequate protein or getting adequate resistance training, none of this shit matters, because this is just a mechanism. At the end of the day, without a calorie deficit, without adequate protein, resistance training, sleep, and water, what I call CWESP, QUESP. I would say going on a quest, just spelled differently. Calorie deficit, water, exercise, sleep, and protein. None of this will matter. However, you will get all these benefits if you extend that fast out to 16 hours, and they become even greater if you're not a fan of doing a daily method where you get hormonal entrainment. Once or twice a week, you can experiment with a 24-hour fast. And this is where the longevity benefits really seem to come in, are more apparent than the regular hormonal entrainment way of just 16 hours. The research shows the extended fast is 24 hours or longer, not only increased metabolic rate, they boost growth hormone a lot more, white blood cells, inflammation, autophagy, which is cellular cleansing. Of course, exercise increases autophagy too, so it's nothing overly magical, but it can't hurt, right? Just like the acute releases of growth hormone. And of course, this helps with your heart and your brain health. So this is the method that I've used that really helps me stay lean. I just have to make sure in that feeding window, again, a warning here, that I don't lose muscle. And I do this by getting adequate protein and resistance training. So there's been some research, negative press lately about fasting and how people who use 16-8 lost muscle. Well, if you look at the study, it's very apparent. They're not training with weights or getting adequate protein, those are the two things that are going to stop sarcopenia, or AKA age-related muscle loss. And then of course, making sure you stay hydrated during the fasted window. That's going to fight off the cravings. And then make sure you get 100 ounces daily. And then what about drinks? There's a lot of questions that I always get. Coffee or tea, or miscellaneous drinks like electrolytes or Diet Coke. So real quick, let's cover this. The first thing I would say is that you're always going to be better off just having plain coffee or tea. And the second you put a sweetener or a creamer in it, it's okay. You're still going to get the weight loss benefits because it's not going to be negligible calories, right? It's not going to be very much. However, because you could trigger insulin slightly, you might negate some of these benefits. So a couple days of the week, regardless of what method you're following, I would recommend that you just stay away from any sweeteners or creamers in your coffee or tea to get more of the hormonal aspect of intermittent fasting. And then apple cider vinegar, lemon water with a pinch of salt is always great to have during the fasted window. It's a gut healer. It'll fight off cravings. A lot of times when we fast, we get depleted of minerals, so salt helps. And then of course, electrolytes help as well. Now, what about diet drinks? Like right here, I have this Georgie drink, right? And I'm fasting right now. And this only has 5 calories. Well, number one, drinking that right now, I realize it is going to negate some of this, okay, a little bit. But 5 calories, I burned through that just talking in this video. So as far as like the weight loss benefit goes, you don't really have to worry about it. If you want Diet Coke, you can have it. I don't recommend it, but if it's going to help with adherence like the research shows it does, there's nothing wrong with having it. Just don't go crazy with it. And then the very last thing is, what about training in a fasted state? And here's the method that I've used. And this is a case-by-case basis that you should use based on listening to your own body. And it really is just a choice. When I'm super busy, I do not get to my workouts later in the day. So if I don't get them out of the way when I wake up, it doesn't happen. So what I do is I train in a fasted state every morning at 7 a.m. Hop on the treadmill, 6:45, read my morning prayer, warm up, and I'm into my weight training workout. I have 3 to 4 grams of HMB before that workout and another 2 grams afterwards. And this is going to be around 15 grams of Lucine. And Lucine is the only amino acid shown in research that will stop muscle loss when you train in a fasted state. So it's just kind of like an insurance policy that I take. And then what I do is I just ride that wave afterwards. So there's 2 schools of thought here. Like, well, you're going to burn up muscle. Well, I've weighed the same as I have for the last 10 years. And haven't lost muscle using this method a lot. And when you have the HMB, it just makes sure, because it's not insulinogenic as well, so it keeps your insulin stable as well. So during the fasted training, you're going to mimic this SNS effect. So between fasting and fasted exercise, you get a double whammy of kicking up adrenaline and growth hormone. Whether or not this will contribute to your overall weight loss is really unknown, and the research doesn't really bear this out. I know it can't hurt. And of course, I'm living proof. At some point, for doing this for 10 years, you have to have some anecdotal evidence that kicks in. So if you struggle with fasted training and you think you need to eat afterwards and you still want to get some of these benefits, my recommendation is just have a protein shake and then just ride the wave the rest of the day and try to break your fast later in the day. Not really a fast anymore, but you can still get some of the same benefits. This is called the Warrior Method, book by, oh man, what was his name? Hofmeckler, I think, Ori Hofmeckler from years ago. So hopefully you got something out of this video. If you did, like it and share it. Drop a comment below if you have questions. Thanks for watching and keep going strong.